With the reveal of Sandscour Greatbow a few weeks before Dynasty spoiler season, the question across the Fab community became what is and how good is an aim counter? And now we know that an aim counter is a mechanic that essentially unlocks bonus abilities on certain cards. Because the strength of an aim counter is dependent upon the card being played, there is thus plenty of room for the mechanic to develop into the future. But for now, for me, the aim mechanic is a bit underwhelming at best. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hello there, Fab folks, and welcome to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast where, yes, we discuss all things flesh and blood, but today, the new aim counter mechanic from Dynasty. So as we go through today's video, let me know in the comments below, what do you think so far about AIM? Do you like it? Do you not? Do you think it's bad? Or are you like me, that it's a cool design space, but probably just not yet at least worth the extra steps? So let me know below. Now, as we get into this today, I wanted to have a heart-to-heart with the many longtime Ranger players that are likely watching this. And I want to just say this. After seeing the Assassin class, I think it's okay for us Ranger players to be a little butthurt. For so long now, we've told ourselves that in exchange for the difficulty associated with arrows and not having an effective weapon, that we are rewarded with an above-average cost curve, 0-4s and 1-5s, all with 3 defense that have relevant on-hits. But now, we see Assassin. He has a weapon, can drop good 0-4 and 1-5s without restrictions, and they all defend for 3. Yeah, I feel you, fam, but I digress. The motivation for this cast came from a conversation on the Dice Commando Discord during Spoiler Week, where I commented on my disappointment with the aim counter cards we had seen thus far. And Kevin called me on it. He asked why I was being so negative on the cards when they were, by all appearances, matched to the Ranger cost curve. The current aim cards in a vacuum are good. In fact, they're probably even slightly better than the other Ranger cards due to the strength of their on-hits. Getting into the opponent's hand is obviously very good. The problem, though, comes from the necessity of an aim counter to unlock their potential. Given that additional steps are needed to get an aim counter on the arrow, it has to be viewed and treated as another restrictions of sorts. In other words, an additional effective cost. Hemorrhage Bore is a classic 1-5 arrow, but the on-hit, while very good, is dependent on an aim counter. Without one, it's a blank card, and effectively worse than not only every other 1-5 arrow, but even a card like Critical Strike. Now sure, you can argue here that the on-hit itself offers higher value. I don't disagree with that. But is it so much better for all the trade-offs and the risk? I personally think no, and that it'd be better to play many other arrows even in an aim-focused build. Longshot is the zero-cost version of Headshot, except for the aim counter restriction, which in my opinion makes it strictly worse. Drill Shot has potential as a 0-4 with an on-hit, and the aim just sweetens the cake with Piercing 1. This arrow probably does find its way into many decks regardless of if they're playing aim or not. Blessing of Focus and Point the Tip start to sweeten the pot quite a bit. Blessing of Focus is probably just straight good even in a non-aim deck, but certainly fills that role even without the need for Sandscour. And Point the Tip is the 0-3 pump that the aim mechanic really needs to function, but without having Opt still makes it somewhat difficult to line up this card with an aim arrow. Now Deadeye, the Majestic non-attack, is a little better in that it sets up an arrow with a decent aim required on hit. This is certainly more flexible as compared to the aim arrows. The card itself has equivalent cost curve to Overflex and the like, so yeah, it's fine. But Overflex doesn't see a ton of play outside of Commoner, favoring the 0-3 pumps. Furthermore, you have to ask yourself, is it worth playing the Greatbow? And that's because currently, any reliable game plan to utilize aim counters will have to run the Sandscour Greatbow. And choosing to run Sandscour over one of the other bows is, in fact, a significant trade-off. So much so that I don't even think Lexi factors into this conversation at all. Voltaire is really just better for her, and even a snapshot jank deck needs the draw from Death Dealer to really work. As such, for much of what we're talking about, Azalea is the most relevant. Sandscour Greatbow is essentially worthless if we load from hand. As such, your game plan has to involve putting calories into setting up the top of your deck. Now sure, that's something that Azalea players are quite used to, But given that Sandscour and Azalea's abilities somewhat conflict, to a certain degree you have to ask, is the value of an aim counter equivalent to Dominate? Now sure, you don't have to do the top deck thing, and yes, there's an inherent flexibility there and even a bit of value in the blind peak, so to speak, at the top card. But it's fair to ask the question of how much you gain from running Sandscour over an entire game versus the other bows. Because again, if you're loading from hand, you're losing on the card draw from Death Dealer, the freeness of Redliner, or the +1 and the static from Dreadbore. Now, I want to be clear here, folks. I'm not outright poo-pooing on the Great Bow. I can see and appreciate the potential lines there, and in the future, there might certainly be something legitimate. Now, if you recall from my Marvel spoiler video, Pachow, I had said that in the Death Dealer versus Great Bow comparison, that Death Dealer's card advantage seemed better, but we'd have to see what an aim counter could do. And now that we have, overall, I'm unimpressed with the current state of the aim mechanic. I feel that Ranger already has enough hoops to jump through, and it doesn't need yet another one. Now again, it doesn't mean that aim can't get better in the future, but for now and until that happens, I think it's fair to say that the mechanic probably sits in your BCW boxes, for now. So let me know if you agree. Do you like aim? Hate it? Or are you with me that it's neat, but for now it's just not there? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and go Commando.